It's just a video to help you think through the homework number 3, help you along the way. And we're going to be covering all this in class, but it could be a helpful additional resource. So you log in using the login information that I shared with you. And then over here, you would browse for the file. So I am just going to put in the file that we have. So I'm just going to use the one from this folder. It's all the same. Auditing the customer base transaction log. Open it up. And again, the key in this is that we have 2 tabs. One tab with transaction log data, and then one tab with the marketing spend data. It gives you these views: total monthly sales month by month, monthly new customers acquired. You can see monthly customer acquisition cost. See, it's moving up. The breakdown, initial versus repeat sales, both in dollar terms and in terms of the percent of the total revenue in the month. This is average order value associated with new versus repeat sales. So for here, again, you can see there's not really a whole lot of trend. In this data set, we have the source of the transaction. So we're looking over here at sales by source. This is their online business, in-store business, and other. And so you can see when we look at sales as a percent of total sales, that while web is growing, the percent of sales coming from stores is steadily moving up. AOV by source, and then average order profit by source. So again, this is the other field that is assumed is available in the transaction log data. Now in truth, I've structured the code such that it's robust to the inclusion or exclusion of both the marketing spend data and the profit data, but if those data sets are not available, then we won't see those figures populate. This is a distribution of average order value. So how many purchases happened with a spend between 0 and $58, between 58 and 116, etc., etc., etc. So again, the nice thing is it kind of subdivides all of the spends into buckets, where each of these buckets is the same range. So again, 116 is 58 times 2, and then there's kind of an overflow bucket over here. This is first purchase profitability, which is the profit on the very first purchase minus CAC. This is how it decomposes into the profit on that first purchase and the CAC. Over here you can see the C3. This is cohorted revenue, and this is cumulative revenue per acquired customer over time. So the blue cohorts are the ones that were acquired more recently. The red cohorts are the ones that were acquired earlier in the past. And so you can see, for example, that there's a pretty decent spread in the average revenue in total since acquisition by month 12, say, and it's somewhere between, call it, 300 and 400, 500 bucks. You can see the blue is above the red, which means the more recently acquired cohorts are monetizing better than the older ones were. This has a whole bunch of views for individual monthly acquisition cohorts. So let's take a look at the May cohort just as an example. This is the distribution of total spend across the customers that were acquired in May. So you can see there were a few customers that brought in somewhere between $1,157 and $1,389. This is the Pareto curve. So this is saying the top 20% of the customers generated, call it, let's see, about 72% of overall sales. Obviously, the top 100% of the customers brought in 100% of the revenue, but what this is showing is just how concentrated total revenue is from the very best customers. So you can see over here, this means the top 10% of the customers provided 50% of the revenue. This is monthly revenue as a function of customer tenure, or how long it's been since the cohort was acquired. When the cohort's acquired, they're acquired by making a purchase, and so obviously there's a lot of revenue that comes in month 0, so to speak, but then after that it kind of falls very quickly. It could be some people are churning, it could be that the natural inter-purchase cycle is longer, but kind of as a result of all those factors, we see sales kind of falling to this much lower level, but then seemingly remaining stable. This is the profit analog to revenue. And then what we can see over here is kind of profit and revenue per acquired customer as a function of tenure. So similar to what we saw up above, over here we kind of show frequency while active. So this is, so actually maybe let me just take a step back. The way that we decompose this is we decompose it into 3 constituent behaviors. There's were they active or not, did they make 1 or more purchases in that month. That's what we see over here. There's how frequently they bought, given they were active. And then there's the amount that they spent, given that they bought. So you multiply this, by this, and that gets you this in blue. So that's why we say this is the monthly revenue decomposition, because we're decomposing this into the 1, 2, 3. This is the underlying tabular data, which allows you to then copy it into an Excel file, if you so desired. And then finally, this rolls it up to the quarterly level. So quarterly revenue per customer acquired. You can see that over time, and again, the same decomposition as before. So this is kind of like a less noisy version of this, because the unit of time is bigger. We also have the ability to compare different monthly cohorts to see, are things getting better or worse. Now, I'll be the first to say, one of the better views of this is actually the cumulative revenue per acquired customer by cohort, but this gives you kind of the full decomposition, so that could be nice. And then this is a kind of homage to the customer base audit, but what this is saying is let's take a full calendar year, let's take everyone who buys, and then let's kind of rank order the customers into deciles, 1 through 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, showing how many customers were in that bucket, what was their average spend, what was their average order frequency, average order value. And then down here, what we're looking at is how many times did they buy. So if you were to take everyone who bought in 2017, how many people bought once, twice, 3 times, etc. What was the average order value per customer? So of the people who were active, how much were they spending per purchase? That's what this is showing. This is total spend per active customer. So again, this is the basket size. So take every individual purchase. What's the average spend per purchase? This is the total spend for all the customers that were active. So it's looking at that distribution. And then this is the corresponding plot for profit. So make sure that you understand the distinction between these two.